things throughout your career really has nothing to do with fishing, but the Letterman experience. So, but I mean, I've heard you talk about being on the show and everything, but like there has to be a moment where you get a phone call from someone that says, "Hey, I think they want you on the Letterman show." Like, did you think people were pranking you?
Yeah, you really kind of do. But I had an agent back then, and so I knew it was all legit, what was about to come down. And their producer actually calls you and does an interview with what potentially Dave's going to ask you question wise. And what you don't realize is when you get on air that he's not going to ask you any of that stuff. You're going to be blindsided by everything. So that was a very unique experience. It was also probably one of the most frightening things I'd ever done, even though I'd done a lot of television. You just knew the impact that Letterman had, and you also knew that you were representing the whole industry, and that just put a lot of weight on my shoulders. So yeah, I was sweating that a little bit, and it went fairly well. And then when I walked off the stage, the producer asked me if I'd be interested in coming back on for another show, and I go, well, yeah, who won? So I actually ended up getting to do Letterman twice, so it was a pretty cool deal.
Which one, which is like, I mean, sounds like a joke. David Letterman, Denny Brauer, and Ozzy Osbourne walk into a bar. I mean, it doesn't even sound like real life. At which one was the Ozzy interaction with?
Yeah, that was the second one, I guess. The first one, I think Ted Danson was the main guest. But the Ozzy deal, Ozzy was there trying to make a comeback, and he was playing a couple of songs on stage and that. And of course, during the breaks, they had me outside trying to teach Ozzy how to cast, which you can imagine how that went. He bounced one off a limo and all kinds of good stuff. But then they'd pipe that footage in during the breaks and that. So it was kind of cool. I did not understand a lot of what come out of Ozzy's mouth back then. It was a language that I totally did not understand, but it was a very unique experience. And the second time I was on, I'm trying to remember who the head guest was supposed to be, but anyhow, he was late. And so I ended up, Jesse Jackson was the main guest. And they kept giving updates on where he was, you know, his entourage coming from the airport and all that. And they decided they're going to have to bring me on as main guest because he wasn't going to get there in time. So I probably got more airtime on Letterman than anybody in the history of the show, because they'd have me on and then they'd take me off, then they'd bring me back on. And I think Jesse got there with like 5 minutes left or something like that. But it was kind of a neat deal to get that much airtime on Letterman.